Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, May 19th, 2025. We're here for a work session with Community Planning Infrastructure and Resources. I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. With me are my fellow commissioners, Commissioner John Kafalis and Commissioner Shattuck McNally. We also have our County Manager, Lorinda Volker, with us, and I will turn things over to Leslie Ellis, our Community Planning Infrastructure and Resources Director, to talk about the items on the agenda today.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Leslie Ellis, Community Planning Infrastructure and Resources Director. And I am here today to talk to you about transportation and water, and then we'll have Rebecca come up if there are other updates in community development. We have a few other guests in the room who may join as needed if there are particular questions or topics that you'd like to dig into a bit more. And unfortunately, Mark Peterson is out this week, as is Eric Tracy, and I almost hate to do this without them, but we also didn't have another opportunity for a couple of weeks. So we'll provide some information, and whatever questions we may not be able to answer, we can follow up if there's other information that you need that may need to come from them. Of course, Eric Tracy has been very instrumental in leading the project as the project manager for the Transportation Master Plan. And so it seemed like it would be good to start today to let you know that the draft master plan is available and the webpage is now up to date. I actually have it up on the screen there. So it's the Larimer on the Move webpage. And there's a web page. And if you scroll down, for anybody who may be watching, you can view the plan here. You can comment on the plan here, and this will be open and live for several weeks. The first work session is now scheduled for July with the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. So there's lots of opportunity for the public to continue to engage and provide comments. I thought I would start with this it's closer to a 4-minute video, but I think it sets a nice stage for the conversation then around funding that we'll talk about a little bit today as well. So if I can get this to show
Welcome to
on the
Larimer
screen
on the Move,
and play
our county roadmap for safer, more connected transportation through the year 2050.
audio part.
This plan is the county's blueprint for building a transportation system that keeps pace with our future.
Oh, there we
It
go.
looks at mainline roads in unincorporated Larimer
Let me
County,
go back.
helping us. Welcome to Larimer
there
on
we
the
go.
Move, our county roadmap for safer, more connected transportation through the year 2050. This plan is the county's blueprint for building a transportation system that keeps pace with our future. It looks at mainline roads in unincorporated Larimer County, helping us to identify and prioritize improvements that support safe and efficient travel for people that are driving, walking, bicycling, and using our transit as our communities continue to grow over the next 25 years. This plan is grounded in community feedback and aligns with the broader county goals like safety, travel choice, resilience, and sustainability. By 2050, our population is expected to grow by 60%. Vehicle travel, that will increase by 70%. And our roads, they are aging faster than we can fund repairs. In the past 5 years alone, there were more than 2,300 crashes. Unfortunately, 28 of those were fatal collisions. This plan is going to help us respond with proactive, data-informed solutions. Through surveys, maps, and pop-up events, your voices were clear. Safety was the #1 concern we heard from the community. There's also strong interest in bike and pedestrian improvements, better transit options, and safer rural roads and intersections. You've helped shape this plan, and your feedback guided every single recommendation. To meet our shared goals, this plan lays out a carefully prioritized list of projects, each selected for its potential to improve safety, mobility, and quality of life across Larimer County. That includes nearly 200 miles of roadway improvements, from wider shoulders for bikes and pedestrians to turn lanes and travel lanes that ease congestion. Paving 90 miles of gravel roads to better handle future traffic and reduce long-term maintenance. 20 key intersection upgrades to boost both safety and traffic flow, 44 multimodal crossings along major active transportation corridors, making walking and biking more comfortable and connected, and 70 safety-focused projects targeting the highest crash locations in the county. Each of these improvements was evaluated through a community-first lens, balancing need, impact, and the long-term benefit. Improving roads, intersections, and bridges is costly, and right now, Larimer County's transportation needs far exceed available funding. Each year, the county has about $7 million to replace bridges, improve roads, and intersections. Looking ahead to 2050, we're facing $840 million in road and bridge needs. Without new funding sources, the county can only cover about 20% of that work. This is just the beginning. Using this plan as our guide, we will next pursue funding through grants, partnerships, and local efforts. We'll study and design projects to make sure those solutions are right for each location, and we'll eventually move toward construction as funding becomes available. This is certainly a marathon, not a sprint, and it's about building a transportation system that works for everyone, young, old, drivers, bicyclists, transit riders, and pedestrians alike. Thank you so much for being part of this process. View the plan, see the recommended projects, and leave us a comment. Let's keep Larimer County moving together.
Great. And I'll give credit to Felsberg, Holt, and Uleveg, who is our consultant who produced that video and has been producing the plan and the webpage along with our team and the community and all the input that they've heard. So I think that does a nice summary of much of what you'll see in the plan and a lot about how the process has worked so far. So I will move on unless there are any questions about the plan process or anything around that, I'll move on to the funding piece.
Looks like Commissioner Kowals has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Leslie. I mean, the transportation funding and the master plan are connected, of course. And my question is, are there, it seems like the fact sheet that we have keeps changing every time I get a new, so I wonder if there'll be a final iteration of that. But also, as an example, May 28th, I'm going to speak to the Wellington Chamber of Commerce. They want an update on the transportation master plan. And I'm hoping there's some good messaging or framing, or, is this the right handout, or is there a different handout regarding Larimer on the Move? So those are my questions.
Okay. Yes, great questions. So
Okay.
they are they're efforts that are moving along in parallel timeframes. We will have some separate information on the Larimer on the Move plan, and the video is one piece of information that you can use. I don't know if Rusty, if you know if there's a handout or something that they're working on, but we can follow up on that with Eric when he gets back. And then the handout for the funding, that is the final version, excuse me, that you have on the dais. We'll have some other materials that the consultant is working on. There's a palm reader, there's some other cards, there's some information that we'll provide. We have sessions set up with each of you also next week to talk about different stakeholder opportunities or engagement or other meetings that you may be going to so that we can provide information for those. But that one is the final one. I know it's changed a few times. You were half a step ahead of us with some of the engagement efforts that you went out to in the last week or so. So our apologies for the drafts, but that is the final.
Oh, okay, so I will recycle the others, but
Yes.
for the record, just the one that we just received, it looks great. I'll look at it, but if you read this page and then you switch it over, it's upside down.
Oh, that's, okay,
I mean,
sorry,
unless you do this.
that's a printing error.
Yes,
so
I understand.
We'll get you some fresh ones.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing it out.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll move on now. What I wanted to do next is share some more information on the transportation funding project. And so we have a slideshow. Here we go. It's in Google Slides. It's a little bit different. So our consultant has been working on, as I mentioned, a series of information that we can all use to help provide consistent messaging to the public. As you recall from the polling, the topics that resonated most clearly with our community are safety and mobility. And as you saw in the video and as you heard in the plan, that doesn't exclude other types of topics related to transportation, such as equity or multimodal transportation expansion or anything like that. But it's really just a matter of kind of keeping the message a bit higher level and really resonating around those topics that seem to be of most importance to the community. So with that in mind, they've put together a brief slideshow with help from our team, really focused around the key issues related to transportation and our transportation needs as we look into the future. And so I'll just kind of go through this quickly to give you a sense of what's in it. This is still in a draft, a work in progress, but it should be done by next week. And so we're taking feedback. If there are questions that you have or other ideas that you'd like to see be part of this messaging, then we can finalize it for next week. So our key theme here is really focusing on the safety and efficiency, mobility, resiliency of our transportation needs. We have 1,000 miles of unincorporated roads in Larimer County and 421 bridges and about 1 million vehicle miles traveled every year within our county. And this really is important for our residents and folks here in the community to get to all the places that they need to go, their schools, workplaces, recreational opportunities, medical visits, you name it. That's a really important aspect of our mobility in the region. The goals that you see here and the vision come out of our transportation master plan. And again, with safety being one of the highest goals, but not to underscore or undersell some of the other topics around resilience, how we can perform in an emergency, travel choice, having multiple opportunities, including public transportation, walking, bicycling, and so on. Efficiency, how smoothly people can get around through our transportation system. Equity, making sure everyone has access. And our connections regionally between our communities and around even outside of Larimer County. And then funding, of course, is critical to make all of these goals happen as well. As you know, despite our strong track record and ability of getting projects done recently, we are facing a shortfall, and we have only a small amount of our property taxes currently from a residential. This is a snapshot from a residential property. A $600,000 home yields about 75 cents per month for our transportation needs, for capital transportation needs. And other transportation needs. And our demand is increasing. We're seeing more need for these projects, as you saw through the video earlier, and our cost is increasing. We've seen a lot of inflationary pressures on construction materials and labor in particular in the last 5 years. Our funding shortfall gap is widening, as you can see from this chart, where we have $7 million a year that we can put toward the projects. And as you heard, about 20% of those projects are funded and the rest is not funded. And so we're seeing a funding shortfall that's widening over time. Our priorities really then again are around safety and mobility and reducing traffic congestion. There's quite a long list of unfunded safety and road improvement needs that we've identified through the transportation plan over the next 25 years, really all around Larimer County, and including some of the bridge projects as well as looking at widening roadways or fixing intersections on any number of projects that we've identified. So focusing on these projects really helps us over time in reducing costs up front and then reducing replacement costs over time. So I will go on. We have over 500 safety and roadway projects, and the transportation plan identifies many of those. And we're working on a list of prioritized projects as well that we'll see. What we're seeing as the options moving forward, really it's going to be a matter of not being able to do some of these critical transportation projects or cutting funds around some of these longer term needs, or moving in the direction of what we've discussed in the past, a sales tax of 0.15%, which would be 15 cents on every $100 purchased, excluding certain things like groceries, that would generate about $15 million annually to cover our immediate and priority needs for the next 25 years, or 15 years in essence. So we'd like to hear more from the community. We're hoping to get out and continue this conversation over the next several months. We've already met with stakeholders, and our consultant team has met with stakeholders. We did the poll. We surveyed residents to find out what was most important to them. And then we now have an informational website. It has been launched, so we continue to invite input. And here is the information about the web page. So investinlarimer.co. If you go to that web page, you'll see all of this information and more. It doesn't have all the information on it yet with the Q&A, interactive Q&A, and all of the timelines, but it's there and available, and we'll keep adding some of this information as we have it, and the current up-to-date fact sheets and survey results and so on. So that is a quick flyover of the information that we have so far. As I mentioned, we'll touch base with each of you to see what questions or other information might be helpful in going out, and we're starting to build a list of events and stakeholder groups and opportunities to get out in the community to talk to folks about this issue and this topic, and see what feedback they have, see what their priorities are, and then continue the conversation before we go out and do additional polling later this summer, and then come back to the board, to the three of you, to have a further conversation about, is a ballot measure for this year something that makes sense given what we know and given what we're hearing from the community. So that is it at this point, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have or take any additional feedback that you have at this point. Again, knowing that we'll have some time next week to dig in a little bit more and see what other ideas you have.
Thank you, Leslie. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Shattuck McNally?
Thanks, Madam Chair. So when I see, this is really great changes, and I really like the progression. When I see this map with the 500 road projects, and I'm just knowing some people are going to ask me, what do the numbers mean? So is there a way or a website where they could click on what the number means, or where that lit is, or what is that, that's by my house, what road is that, what does that mean? And I'm wondering about that.
Yes, great questions, and we will have that. So you're referring to the map here on this slide. So on the web page, we will have that information. I don't think it's there yet, but we'll have the lists of projects, the maps, all of that information. So if you get questions about that, you could refer them to this investinlarimer.co. And I think we're still finalizing some of that information with our consultant team, but it should be ready in the next week or so.
Thank you, Leslie, and I think there's some folks in our rural and smaller communities they can see, oh, that's near my neighborhood.
Yes,
How does that
exactly.
impact me? And they're going to want to know, and that will help them want to invest. So thank you. I appreciate the update.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cavallis, please go.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just two bits of feedback. One is where we talk about a new sales tax of 0.15% that will generate $15 million. It may be wise to remind people that that's on top of the $7 million that we're currently dedicating to road work. That reminder might be helpful. And maybe it
Yes.
shows up elsewhere.
Yes, I believe it does show up elsewhere, but it is intended to help bridge the gap, the
I know, but
80%
in terms of,
unfunded.
in
Yes.
terms of how we present it, so in the end, if this is successful, it would be $22 million a year towards the 840 million funding
Correct.
needs that we have. So I think it's important to reinforce, it's building on what we currently invest. That's just my
Yeah.
bit of feedback. And then the only other thing, I might have forgotten it now. I'll pass. I
Okay.
forgot the other item. Maybe it'll come to me, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you. And you'll probably see two different numbers in these materials. One is the total need, which is the 840 million.
And to prioritize.
And right, and then the other one is the 650, and it's actually a little bit more than 650 million, and that's the unfunded piece.
Yes.
Yes.
I remembered my other point.
You may ask your question then.
And that is, will there be a need, or is it already provided, clarification on the relationship between public or private subdivisions and road maintenance on, public roads? I mean, the issue that we've had over the years and why we form PIDs. People may ask, well, if I support this, that means you're going to come into our private subdivision and fix the roads. Will that clarification be made? Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. Good question. I don't have all the answers on that, although I don't think we'll have information on the PID piece in the funding materials, but we'll have it as part of the plan materials or elsewhere. We'll make sure that you have the information to answer that question. Coming back to the funding set of materials, they are trying to keep them a little bit simpler and higher level and focused on safety and mobility. But we also want to make sure that you're feeling comfortable and have the information you need as you go out in the community to answer questions. So we'll make sure you have it.
Thanks, Leslie.
Well, and also these dollars can be used as matching funds to be able to leverage other dollars at the state and federal level.
Correct. Yes.
With regard to, you said you're working on a list of prioritized projects. How will those be prioritized? Will it be safety first? What kind of goes into that prioritization?
Great question, and I might invite others up if they feel prepared to answer. Otherwise, we'll follow up. But we, through the transportation master plan process, the consultant team and staff have criteria that they're working with, and then a scoring matrix that take into account multiple criteria. So they look at safety, they look at efficiency, they look at community input, and then all of those things were, each project was scored based on how it meets certain criteria, and then that helped prioritize the projects. And then the staff also looked through the list to kind of do some final, quality checking to make sure that things weren't showing up that had already been completed and whatnot. So, the priorities really focus around multiple objectives of the transportation master plan. I believe safety was weighted a little bit higher, as well as efficiency or mobility. Is that correct? Yeah, and so that's how we got at many of the safety projects probably are higher on the list because of that, but that doesn't mean that only safety projects are at the top of the list, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and does it mean, I think about situations like at the MPO level, we do a lot of prioritization, but we also know that sometimes a funding stream will come in that your project 5 is, it's going to fit project 5, and that's going to jump to the top of the list because we've identified funding for it. So do you foresee that there being some flexibility in some of that?
I do, yeah, and the safety action plan also has its own set of projects, so we'll be going after some of the grant opportunities that are safety, focused based on the prioritization in that plan as well. But yeah, I think the way that the criteria and the project list has been set up, it's very flexible in that it can let us pull out those projects to apply for certain pots of money.
Right, there may be a Safe Streets for School, like as we know, probably will remain in existence, so it may be, 3 or 4 down on the priority list, but that
Yeah.
funding comes through, we're going to apply for those dollars, right?
Yes, yeah, and, excuse me, come on up, yeah, thanks.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Todd Jurgens, Road and Bridge Director. So the way the Transportation Master Plan is set up, there will be a list of short-term priority projects and long-term projects. Within those short-term priority projects, they are not listed in numeric 1, 2, 3, 4 order. They, with intent to allow us to be nimble and react to funding streams that become available, development that occurs that wasn't anticipated in the plan, happening earlier than what we thought. So you won't see them ranked 1, 2, 3, 4. They will be it's a subset of the $840 million in projects listed as short-term priority, and for exactly the reasons you mentioned, we want to build the ability to be nimble and make the best decisions using the plan as a guide.
Thank you. Thanks, Todd. I appreciate that, yeah. And that makes sense, and that's kind of, I mean, that's probably a best practice, right? Is like, I mean, you don't know what funding gets released at what time, and, you got to jump on it, because obviously leveraging those dollars is, the more money we can get for these projects, using our own dollars would be good, so, thank you.
Thank you.
That allows us to react to, condition of the road as well. If the road starts to deteriorate at a rate faster than we expected or earlier than we expected, we have the ability then to move that project up and take advantage of getting those maintenance operations completed with the overall capital improvement. So.
Thank you. Any other questions for Todd or Leslie? Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Todd. I think one of the slides talked about the gravel roads or the gravel roads that we have in the county and the type of maintenance that we currently do. But I thought it referenced that the intent was to pave over some of those dirt roads, those gravel roads. Did I understand that correctly? And because I know that sometimes it's a bit controversial. On the one hand, you have folks who would love that. On the other hand, you have folks who say, leave it as a gravel, natural surface road. Can you speak to that, sir? Did I see that correctly?
Yes.
You did. So there are a number of projects in the Transportation Master Plan that call for paving of existing gravel roads. And really what is tripping that is the trips on the road. We have a standard that at 400 ADT or more, we start looking at paving those roads. We have a number of roads today that are carrying far in excess of 400 trips per day. And then with the 2050 projections, several more of those roads will exceed the 400 ADT. So like any other project we do, there's a public process involved. The fact that it's in the Transportation Master Plan doesn't mean anything other than, again, that's a guide for us to look at. And then we would go through a public process to decide whether it is in fact appropriate to fund that project and pave those corridors where we're seeing a lot of traffic on those unpaved roads. You're welcome.
All right. Lorinda, is there anything you want to add to this conversation?
I think this is really a critical conversation for the community in terms of resources and access, and the work that you all have done to get us to this place feels relatively quickly done, but it's very thorough. I know it's based on data and experience. I think if we can get these flyers ready for us to bring to all the things we bring, it would be helpful to start getting that information out. And then if there are other opportunities that you see, what I would suggest is let the commissioners know they're happy to talk about these things and advocate for this work with the community. Yeah. So if something comes up at the last minute, I know you all have asked, what can we be doing to support education around this problem? Because it really is a problem we can't solve without additional funding.
Yeah, thank you, Lorinda. And many of these items are hot off the press. I'm getting things even as of in the last couple hours from our consultant team. So we will have a whole kit that will be getting to you. And again, that one is final, but apparently the printing is not final, so we'll get you some corrected printed versions. But the content is final at least, and then there are other items that are coming your way also. And then, yes, we look forward to partnering all of us together to get out in the community and share this information and hear from the community as far as what's what's going to be acceptable and what's a priority for the community in terms of solving this problem. So, but thank you. And yeah, thanks to Mark and his team and Todd and Rusty and Eric, everybody who's been really driving all of this information forward. I think, as Lorinda said, it has been a lot and it's coming together. And I think now we have a good period where we can hear more from the community and then finalize the plan and get that adopted and then keep moving on this funding question
Great.
toward a solution. So,
Yeah, we're excited about that. So I guess we'll move on to our next agenda
right,
item.
thank you. Thank you both, Todd. Okay, the next item is relatively brief. I wanted to update you on some ongoing conversations around, and this relates to water master plan and topics related to water. We had talked with you back in late last year, early this year, about working with Palmer Land Conservancy to do a film in the community and host some conversations and panel conversations around this topic of water. They had a staff change within their organization, and we're continuing to be in contact with them. And it sounds like they are actually fully funded to move forward and do something in northern Colorado in this region, and they would like to do something in partnership with us. They're not necessarily asking us to help fund it, but they would like to work with us. Also, Northern Water has been doing some work around water security. They came and spoke with you, and they've put together a film that they've shared with at their spring symposium that's been well received and has a lot of interest. We've been in touch with CSU, with the Water Center, and we're having conversations with NOCO Foundation and all the various other partners in the area. So what it's looking like may be a possibility for us this fall is to do some sort of panel conversations with the film, the Mirasol film, or possibly something that Northern Waters produced together with other partners and invite landowners, agricultural producers, and others to come and be part of that conversation. And so I just wanted to bring this back to you. It's been a bit of a moving target. We were originally going to have something that we would do in the springtime, and then with the schedule change, we're looking at probably more like an October timeframe. And with your continued interest and support, we'll keep having those conversations and then come back to you with more information and more detail about this. But just wanted to bring that to you now and see what questions and input you have at this stage as we continue those conversations.
Thank you, Leslie. Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thanks, and appreciate the partnerships, Leslie. It just sounds like things are kind of flip-flopping on you there, but my curiosity about this is when you talk about panel, watching the film was a certain amount of time, and then having a panel, it sounds like it could be a half day, more of a, or 2 or 3 hours, maybe more of a summit than just a panel. I'm just curious about that. That's my first question. Secondly, when you talk about partners, who else are we asking to come and maybe part of that? Is it Mighty Arrow? Are there some environmental groups who have felt like they have not been part of the conversation? So I'm just curious, when you talk about partners, who's all are we looking to bring together?
Yeah, thank you. Great questions. So the timing and the content has not been fleshed out at all. I think that it could be that it's a series of panel conversations. I think the original thought in Palmer's proposal was to do an evening event with a film and then have some conversation around it, so an hour and a half or 2 hours. I think Northern Water has had some similar thoughts around that, but bringing a panel together, and that's also the conversation we've had with CSU about doing something like that. It could be that there's again, a series of these, or it becomes a half-day event. So I think if there's interest in focusing a water session around the topic of water security and kind of water transfers and that sort of thing, I think we can probably move forward and then, even come back and, give some options or something like that. As far as partners, the only ones that we've really talked to at this stage are the ones I mentioned. So it's Palmer, CSU, Northern Water, and then NOCO Water Foundation. We haven't specifically talked to about this, but their work on the Water Alliance group and others may make them a potential partner because they're already working in that space. There could certainly be others, but we just haven't approached any of them, nor have they approached us on something like this yet. We're also trying to make this a low effort project on our part. We don't have a lot of staff to organize this, so what we'd really like to do is hand somebody the key and say, here's some parameters, here's what we'd like to contribute to, but we don't really have the staff or the capacity to make this happen. So we're trying to find partners who can kind of carry it forward, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Anytime we start talking about water, I'm always back up to watershed, right? And it's always back up to the start. So I would maybe just suggest maybe Coalition for Poudre Watershed, since they're working so much up in that space, trying to get the snowpack protected and, know a lot about the river health. Not that I want to ignore the Big Thompson, but that might be a decent partner to bring in, to kind of tie in the importance of, wildfire mitigation and watershed protections, because that's literally upstream. So just an idea. Thanks.
Commissioner Capalas, any questions?
Just a quick comment, Madam Chair. It seems to me that, one model for this would be similar to when we first rolled out our water master plan discussion. We had the series, the water education series in the hearing room. Remember when we did all
Yes.
that? Seems like that, that's something we could maybe build on.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just watched this weekend I watched the Northern film that you had sent out. It's short, so that wouldn't have to be, it's 10 minutes. So I feel it was interesting. It clearly is focused on water security. The thing that I thought about it was that I was trying to look at it in a lens through like somebody who didn't know anything about water. And so I guess we need to think of sort of what the audience looks like. Like I would say the Marisol film is a sort of an easy, like that could engage people who are not involved in water at all, of really understanding some issues around ag. And I think that the Northern, I was like, I thought it was fine. I just thought that like people might need some context before they saw that, or so I don't know if we want to stagger how we show those, but for people who don't understand the security issues or aren't familiar with maybe other communities coming and trying to get our water, like it's not entry level, I guess I think. And it's not that the terminology is hard to understand. I just don't know that a lot of folks understand sort of the picture of water in the community. So I think that they're both fine films. I think that they would potentially target different audiences. And I agree with Commissioner Shattuck McNally on bringing people from the environmental kind of, right? Because I think that especially the film by Northern was really that's water security, and didn't really talk about, what it's like to, about river health or, habitat or any of those kind of issues. And so, and then maybe we don't want to be comprehensive in this space, but I think it's good for people to understand the full picture. So I don't know. I felt like I just did a lot of talking and not really a lot, but just thinking that there's nothing wrong with the Northern film. And I think that people would need to understand more to understand what the film's trying to get at, which is the fact that we want to keep water in our basin. And so.
Okay, that's good feedback. And they've also indicated that they're still working on the film and editing it, and that they're also open to including other voices or perspectives as part of that too. So I think I can share that feedback back.
Yeah, and I think the most compelling part, honestly, was when the farmer, who had a very, very small part in that, really talked about some of the challenges that they face and stuff like that. And so I think maybe more human interest, or how this affects, regular folks, because it was, it was a couple water providers, it was Northern, and then it was this farmer. But farmers have a really good story to tell here.
Yeah.
I think that people who are working in, forest health and water health and health of rivers have a good story too. So I think those would be good voices to add.
Okay. Well, this is good feedback, and I apologize I didn't come with some more clear-cut options or something, but I think this has been a little bit of a moving target, but there does seem to be a good coalescence of partners and ideas to do something later this fall, and so we'll keep working on it at the level that we have ability to work on it. And I do think that maybe that CSU is the one that would actually help. Again, they helped us 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, organize that panel, and they have indicated some willingness and possibility of doing work again in that space. So we'll keep talking to folks and see if we can come up with something that satisfies, I think, the objectives related to the water plan and what you've shared today as well. Anything else on that topic?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Community Development Director update. Hello, Rebecca.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Rebecca Everett, Community Development Director. I have a few brief updates for you today. First, I wanted to let you know that the request for proposals for the Transfer of Development Rights program hit the street last week. So as a reminder, and I'll explain a little bit of terminology change here, we've been talking about a new program to establish a system for transferring development rights or density units from one property to another to encourage development in the places that are most appropriate for growth and development, and to discourage development in areas that are more sensitive for various reasons. The concept of this program was really rooted in a program that existed between a partnership between Larimer County and the city of Fort Collins a couple decades ago in the Fossil Creek Reservoir area. It was a very successful program that accomplished a lot of goals related to environmental protection in that area, and we want to build on that success and explore what that type of program could look like countywide. And we have funding from the Department of Local Affairs through the Strong Communities Grant Program to create and explore this type of program. So the request for proposals went out last week to seek a consultant to help us develop this program. Previously, we had been calling it Transfer of Density Units. We've shifted the language to call it Transfer of Development Rights Program, which is more of an industry standard term that's more familiar to property owners and consultants and things like that. So we hope to get some good qualified consultants responding and select someone to hopefully get under contract and get that project really started in earnest later this summer. So we're excited about that, and we know of at least a few consulting firms that are interested in planning to apply to try to help us with that. I'll pause for any questions there and then move on.
What's the deadline for submitting or reviewing the RFPs?
Great question. I can get back to you on that. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I believe it's
30 days?
a couple weeks from now.
Couple of weeks.
I think we gave everyone 2 or 3 weeks to respond.
Thank you.
Yeah. Second, we posted the job for our county building official position last week. So as I believe you all know, Eric Freed, our county building official, is retiring in the fall, and we have posted that position and are seeking applicants, and we'll be conducting a hiring process over the next couple months with the goal of trying to fill that position before Eric's retirement so that there's some overlap and a good transition of knowledge and practice between our outgoing CBO and hopefully the new CBO. So we'll keep you posted. That process will include a community meet and greet where any members of our boards and commissions or interested community groups will be invited to listen in to the candidates sharing about themselves and providing any feedback that they may have. So we want to make sure that that process provides an opportunity for all of the stakeholders that work with the building department to provide some input as well. Then my last update is just a reminder of upcoming meetings. We won't have any land use hearings again until June 9th, so a few weeks off there. But we will have a hearing on June 9th. And we're still finalizing what the agenda will look like for that and how many items. That's a 3 o'clock hearing. And then I believe Leslie mentioned this too, your next joint work session with the Planning Commission will be in July, on July 9th, and you'll be looking at the Larimer on the Move plan and possibly other items that night as well. Those are all of my updates today.
Any questions? Commissioner?
Do you know, Rebecca? Well, first of all, thank you, Rebecca. Will we have land use hearings afternoon and evening on June 23rd?
Let me check my calendar. Certainly afternoon. I don't know that we have, it's a far enough out that we don't have the agendas set. I don't see that we have anything queued up for June 23rd in the evening at the moment. That could still change, but as of this moment, I don't see anything on the agenda.
Thanks.
So we still have I think the June 11th meeting with Pete and the Planning Commission on our calendar, so we can get rid of that safely, huh?
Oh, yes.
Because we're not meeting till July 9th?
I believe that is the case, and I'll double check and we'll
Okay.
get that canceled if that is the case. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Leslie, anything else
Okay,
from you?
I will be brief, just a couple updates. So we do not have a work session next week, Memorial Day, so I hope you enjoy the holiday. And then the week after that is the CCI Summer Conference, so you'll get a hiatus from Monday work sessions. We do, however, next Wednesday have a work session coming up on the ranch, so that will be to focus around project options and funding, continuing that conversation. And then we will also be looking to schedule some updates on solid waste. It's been a little while since we've had a chance to update you and the community on all the many projects that are happening and grants and other things that are happening out there. So that's something we'll be looking to do soon as well. So, but for now, we have a little bit of a break.
That's not bad. Thank you. Any questions? All right. That's it then. All right. So we don't have any other business. It's 2:18 and we're adjourned for the day. Thank you.